Hey, what's up everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so we got a game today. Yeah, it's a game. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and the Nuggets at Ball Arena at 5:30. All the games are going to be at the same time, 2 days apart. So that let you know the entire schedule right there for the entire series. Yeah. So I watched every highlight of the Nuggets Suns series again with more intent because I was distracted watching the highlights the first time, didn't really absorb it like I should have. And I took away two things, maybe even more than that, but I'll just give you what's on my mind. First of all, the Denver Nuggets scoring very, very quick bunches. They can line up 20 points in a matter of like 4 minutes if you leave them open to do so. And see, that's everything in regards to the Denver Nuggets that I saw is based on the Phoenix Suns, and because of it, I have to admit that the Suns didn't really do much defensively that makes me think that I should think my team is going to see the same looks they looked at, if that makes any sense. You're not going to see some of the sequences that we saw if the Los Angeles Lakers do what they normally do against this team. Some of the stuff that Denver does is going to be disrupted. They are a fantastic offensive team. Defensively, they have their strengths. Transition defense is something that I've heard very, very contrasting opinions about. JJ Redick says they're bad in transition defense. Somebody else said they were very good in transition defense. So that's, you know what I mean? It's up in the air. People don't have consistent things to say about this team, to be honest with you. A lot of the times they say in different stuff. But the one thing that's consistent is that Nikola Jokic is one of the best players ever played, and he's playing at a level that's crazy right now. He's the entire offense for the Denver Nuggets, and he can get points for himself, points for others, rebound the ball at a crazy rate, and wear you down if you allow him to. He's about 7 feet tall, 280 or 90 pounds. I didn't check, but he's up there. He looks about that heavy anyway, and he moves at various paces. He doesn't move very fast, but he can speed up if necessary. The ball moves quicker than the body anyway, so he can dart it around if necessary. But he can also get in the half court, be really, really slow, put his back to the basket, and pump fake you and footwork you to death if necessary. You can do the traditional thing. He's a fantastic three-point shooter, fantastic free throw shooter, fantastic everything shooter, mid-range, all of it, touches, legendary touch. So this is one of the greatest players of all time, and he doesn't have a ring. I don't know how long that's going to be, especially if we don't stop him. Put it like that. So that's how real this is. This is one of the greatest players to never win a championship ring, and he's very much in his prime. So chances are he's either going to beat us to get it, or we're going to keep him from it, obviously, and he's going to try to add it again next year. With probably an even better team, because right now the Denver Nuggets are about 8 or 9 deep. They got players on this team that they would rather cut their arm off than play in this series, and that's the difference between us and them. We don't have that problem. We can go all the way down to 16 and be comfortable playing every player on the roster, even the dudes that you've never seen before, like Scottie Pippen and Cole Swider. We're very happy with those players. Can't wait to see them. So that's the difference between us and Denver. They are going to hide half of their roster. We beg our coach to play more of ours. So that's where I think we really separate. Aaron Gordon, very important piece to what's going on down there. Now, if you've watched me enough this week, just about 3 or 4 of the last Laker videos are pretty much Laker Denver Nugget opinion breakdown videos. So there's not going to be a whole lot that hasn't already been said, or there may be some things left out that have already been said. So you might want to check all of those videos, especially yesterday's. I think the very last Laker video that I made was very much going to break down this series probably as well or even better than I'm going to do right here. But Aaron Gordon is somebody who's going to play tough guy ball. They kind of reinvented his game from what he was in Orlando, which was a fantastic dunker and somebody who was a little more offensive minded, who could play defense, to a defensive stopper that may look to score a little bit, which makes him extremely dangerous because at any moment he can go back and score for his team if necessary, snap back into that old guy and go for over 25, 30 points. Higher too, if necessary. But you don't expect that. That's not the role he has with the Nuggets. He hasn't done anything like that in a long time. So you hope that he just continues to play the role he's playing and doesn't snap into old Gordon and start scoring outside of himself. But you're always ready for that. Also, defensively, since he's a big body, you expect for him to crash the boards really hard, do some weak side help stuff wherever necessary. They don't really block a lot of shots as a team, but they will try to force you out of the paint with their big bodies. Jokic, DeAndre, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green. That's who they're looking to try to push us out of the paint with. There's Victor Conchar. I don't know if he's going to be involved or not, but he's also down there. Peyton Watson's another player. Guys they'd rather not use, also as part of the front court. They got another center back there. I forgot his name, but he's further back in the depth chart if necessary, so that we know what they have. If for some reason injuries occur or significant foul trouble on top of injuries, you'll start seeing those type of guys. But if nothing like that occurs, don't expect to see them at all. Reggie Jackson's on this team. Probably a little iffy if you see him or not. Maybe once or twice, garbage time, but they don't use him like the Clippers used him. I think it's a mistake, for what it's worth. I think that's a mistake. He should be in regular rotation for the roster that they have. Christian Brown, Bruce Brown, KCP. 3 guys that are going to be tasked with stopping our guards. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley, Lonnie Walker. Those guys are going to be chased around by these guys. This is their Gary Payton. This is their Wiggins. This is who they're using to try to defend us. Klay Thompson. Those are the defensive players in the Golden State Warriors. This is who they have in that way, and they're very good. You talk about a guy like KCP. We know him better than the Nuggets do. We won a championship with the guy. Back in 2020 in the bubble, we defeated these Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Everybody knows this is the bubble rematch. All 4 corners of the Western and Eastern Conference Finals are the guys that made it just the same in the bubble. So, all these teams have the same cores. They know one another. They know themselves. And even though they have different role players, at the end of the day, these are the cores that got them there 3 years ago. So it's going to be some, I'm not going to say bad blood, but the Denver Nuggets would love to beat us. Not only did we get them the last time they went to the conference finals, but we got them the time before that too. It just so happens every time they go to the conference finals, it's us there to meet them and it's us there to beat them. And so that revenge factor is something we're going to have to be on guard about as a unit. Our team is going to have to understand that it's not just the bubble history that they're driven by, but also 09, when we got them en route to get to Orlando to beat the Magic in that championship. So I'm on high alert with the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray is healthy, which makes him somebody you have to look at, not as somebody that he's been over the last 2 years, but it's the guy he was against Donovan Mitchell 3 or 4 years ago, when he had that dominant back and forth with him in that significant playoff series that we won't soon forget, where he and Donovan Mitchell put on multiple 50-point performances. It was just some of the best playoff ball you ever seen in your life. He's closer to that now than he's ever been. It's in terms of his conditioning, and I'm pretty sure he's a better player because it's been a lot of years since then. So we need to be on high alert with Jamal Murray. I think he's still working his way back into shape. I don't know how much of his explosiveness or whatever has been taken away from him by his injury, but I can tell you that he was never predicated on leaping anyway. He's a shorter guy that lays the ball up. So he got his sea legs back in regards to his jumper, and he also is a fantastic playmaker as well. So you can't double this guy. He's going to make plays just like Jokic is. So they got dangerous playmakers in their starting lineup and dangerous catch-and-shoot guys. All of them can do this, pretty much. So you got to be very careful with Jamal Murray. I think the best thing for us is if he overshoots. Jamal Murray can tend to take over 20 shots. And I don't think that diversifies their offense enough against our defense. If they zero in on him that much, I think that plays in our favor. So that's just my own opinion. That doesn't necessarily have to be the way it goes. But I think that's also how they were able to beat the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns didn't diversify at all. Aside from Landry Shamet going off a couple times, Campaign going off in the end, it was only KD and Booker doing all of the scoring, all of the shooting, all of everything. That's too few places for the defense to have to focus on. And so with our Lakers, I think we're going to give them the complete opposite of that. You have no idea where the scoring's coming from. There have been games where LeBron James didn't score very much in the first and second quarters, and we still had enough points to keep us well above the other team. You just don't know who's going to attack you from this Lakers squad, and that's why I like us against Denver. Because Denver tends to, even though they have a phenomenal offense, they don't diversify as much as one would think. And they don't use enough of their bench to keep those guys fresh. So I'd imagine they're going to start wearing down any time now. Now, I'm not saying that's something we can count on, but I am saying we need to push the pace against this team if we have the energy to do so, because that's when Phoenix was able to really get them. And the 2 home games that Phoenix won, what I noticed is that Phoenix had a bit more pep in their step in terms of pushing the pace toward the Denver Nuggets, getting at them and taking advantage of a weak defense that I saw. Both teams played no defense. And so that's really what it was. That's the difference that separates us. I think as long as the Los Angeles Lakers continue to lean into their defensive principles, turning defense into offense and putting pressure on this team, if we can force them into turnovers, I like our chances in getting out and scoring the ball as much as we need to off of transition buckets and testing that transition defense that is either really, really good or really, really bad, depending on who you listen to. So that's what I like in regards to us. Of course, we got to mention Anthony Davis and Jokic in the matchup, which is we made a whole video about that basically. But Jokic and Anthony, what we want to find is a sweet medium between not letting Anthony sit on him the entire series and wear down, and understanding that we really don't have any other viable people to guard him properly. So we're going to have to give Jokic different looks. Obviously, the traditional thing to do is to never double off a passer. But what you also don't want to do is give him the same look. You want to throw different stuff at him, even if it's stuff that doesn't necessarily make sense. And at times, you just want to give that guy different looks so that he's never certain of what the hell he's going up against. So that's what I would say in regards to Jokic. He's so intelligent, and he's going to give you so many different looks that the best thing for you to do is try to give him just as many. If he's going to be doing 750 different moves, we need to be throwing 700 different defenses at him. So that's what I see in a perfect world, how you stop a guy like that. Make it complicated as he's going to make it for you. And get him in foul trouble. You know, simplicity is also best in this situation. He only has 6 fouls. And at the end of the day, we're at the mercy of the referees calling them. No different than they are in regards to us. But we are the team that drives at the ball more than anybody else. We're the team that shoots the fewest threes in the league. We're the team that gets fouled the most. So I would imagine that we're going to continue to lean into our DNA in regards to putting the ball on the floor and testing out this team that doesn't really block shots as well as Golden State, and definitely not as well as Memphis. This is the weakest defense we've seen in the playoffs, and we are the best team they've seen in the playoffs. Now, many have said they're the best team we've seen in the playoffs. I don't agree. Period. I think the Golden State Warriors are a better team than the Denver Nuggets right now. They are. It's just my opinion. But nevertheless, they are a more efficient offense than the Golden State Warriors. And so you're going to have to more than likely score more efficiently against them to win the series. Now, from what I understand, when we're not focused on the defensive end very much and we're focused on going full-fledged offense, we score 111 points. That's what the average said, according to what it is I just read. Now, when we go full-fledged and leaning into our defense, we score upwards of 120-something points. So as I always say, defense to offense is the best way for the Lakers to score. We don't have the greatest half-court offense. We don't really have the greatest spot-up shooters, that kind of thing. That's not our game. Our game is to turn block shots and steals into buckets transition and hopefully getting 3-and-1s in those situations. So however best to strategize that is probably the way to go. I think this first game is a real feel-out game. If you look at the first 3 or 4 matchups between the Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Lakers didn't have their new team. All of the games were before January, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, at the end of the day, we did have Anthony Davis down there, LeBron James in one of the matchups. They did have their starters in one of the matchups, that kind of thing. But there's not a whole lot of data there matching these two teams up from this season, especially with Vando and D'Lo. There's nothing there. So game 1 is a feel-out game for sure. And, you know, because it's a feel-out game, you just can't really say what you're certain you're going to see, other than teams are going to go out there. Maybe some of them might have the jitters given the fact it's a Western Conference Finals. You know, it's the road, so we don't know if our role players' shot is going to necessarily fall as well in this building. So these are the type of things you're concerned about. Obviously, altitude. We've talked a lot about how that's going to play a big factor in this game. in this series. And of course, altitude does determine a lot of what happens in these playoffs, just all across the board in sports. Anytime anyone has to go to Detroit, it's gonna be rough. So we don't expect that it's gonna be a free flowing situation out in Denver, but we do want to win the games that we are in, and we feel we're a better team than them. So, when the stakes are this high, you can't just simply say let's go out and just dominate. But what we can say is if we have the right attitude, we come in with the right amount of effort, because that's what's going to be required to win this series, just like against Golden State, effort. And if we put forth the right effort and study this team the way that I know that our team is capable of studying them, we'll learn what we need to learn. And by game, whatever, we will know this team. We will know this team. All the little tricks and the moves that they do, we will learn them. Obviously, the most important thing beyond everything is health for us. Right now, everybody's healthy. Jamal Murray is listed as questionable with an illness of some sort, but I expect for him to play. They tried that last series, from what I understand, and he still played. So I expect Jamal Murray to go out there and duke it out, even if he's not 100%. He's going to play. His first Western Conference home game with actual fans in the building, yeah, he's going to play. I'm telling y'all, I already know. This guy had his Western Conference moments in the bubble, but he's a momentum guy, and that's another thing. Expect for their team to play off of that crowd. They surge when they get into their little catch and shoot motions and stuff like that. You better play them shooters hard. I personally think, as a preference, I'd rather Jokic be a scorer. If he's going for 55 points, I'll take my chances so long as his assists are under 10. Because at the end of the day, you want to keep everybody else out of the rhythm because they are a team. Jokic is a player that makes their machine go. But if the Denver Nuggets are functioning properly, they are a well-oiled, full-running offensive machine. So what you got to do to shut the machine off is to make sure that only one or two of their pieces is actually working. And that's what we got to do. So stay home on those shooters. That's just my preference on things. But we also have to, switch it up on the Denver Nuggets. Mike Malone is a very smart coach. But at the end of the day, it's only so many different things you can do with eight players. It's only so many variables you're going to throw out there when you only have 8 people in rotation. So that is the reality of the Denver Nuggets conundrum, in my humble opinion. We will figure them out if we just don't allow ourselves to fall asleep in the early games of this series on the road. We, of course, have to win one of these 2 games in order to effectively snatch home court advantage, and we need that in this series, obviously, with the travel being as it is and altitude being as it is. So, like I said, that first game is a fill-out game for both teams. It's going to be hard to win that game for both teams, in my opinion. But after we get past this first game, we make our adjustments. Game 2, we need to get game 2. Regardless if we win game 1 or game 2, I'm already telling you, we need to get game 2. That's a must-win for the Lakers. So, for me, even though I look at this team as a team that I think we should be able to beat, I don't trust that. I listen to the pundits. They all say otherwise. So I just trust everybody else in regards to saying that the Denver Nuggets are a team that we probably going to have to fight tooth and nail to beat. Believe that. My confidence, and based on what it is that I think I see in regards to the Denver Nuggets, I truly do see that. But I know it's wise to come in respecting and expecting the best from Nikola Jokic. And especially in the moments like this. He's not going to cower. He doesn't have the jittery bugs and none of that. Now, here's the thing that I want to say. The Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies had some brick-laying shooters, bro. And that's unfortunate because the Golden State Warriors have some of the greatest shooters ever play. But we were able to benefit from some horrific shooting in both of those series. You're talking about guys like Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Dylan Brooks, Tyus Jones. These guys were bricking all series long. I'm here to tell you that the Denver Nuggets don't have that problem at all. So a lot of those missed jump shots from those 2 teams will be hit in this series. And so that's what we need to understand about the Denver Nuggets. They're not going to defend as well as those teams, but they're going to convert more than those teams, so it's going to balance itself out. And that's what we need to understand. The score is going to launch up. We're going to have to fight from behind in this series. We're going to have to understand that. I do expect to have them, as I said, they can score 20 points in like 4 minutes if they're going. And if you fall asleep, they can ring together a lot of shots in a row with the efficiency of guys like KCP, Porter, Murray, and Jokic. They are very efficient shooters. So you have to basically expect any turnover. It's going to be a transition bucket, possibly a transition 3 with a guy like Murray and Porter. So here's where we're going to talk about some things that we know we're no good at. As we said in previous videos many times, if we're going to leave LeBron James in situations to be the center in this series, we're going to fail. Okay, we're going to need an adequate rebounder down there against Jokic, and he is not that, especially when Gordon's on the floor. No. So make sure that Anthony Davis, Winya, and Gabriel, if Mo Bamba will be available at some point in this series, him, Tristan Thompson, we need to use our bigs in this series. Bamba is not going to be available tonight, by the way. He is out. That is something that needs to be understood. So we're going to put in a lot of pressure on AD in these first couple of games to play a lot of minutes in Denver, in altitude. It just is what it is. So I hope that we're ready for that. I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do. I don't know if that gives us the best chance to strategize in this series, but I don't see a way for us in a feel-out game to have any chance of guarding Jokic if we don't put Anthony on him a good portion of this game. So that's something that I just understand, and I believe that. We'll probably see Anthony on the floor for more than 40 minutes tonight. Maybe 40 minutes every game in this series. I hope not. But it makes sense if you do. So foul trouble is going to be something we have to be careful with. We were able to get away with not seeing the 2 early fouls to AD happen in the last series or in the Memphis series. That game never came. The 2 quick foul Anthony Davis game is something we have to anticipate. If it never comes, very happy about it. But we got to be ready for that. So I hope we have non-Anthony Davis minutes strategies in place for this series. I don't care what the strategy is necessarily, just that we have one that we believe in, that can find a way to offset the efficiency, the guaranteed efficiency of Jokic, and give us enough to score with or what have you without Anthony Davis. If we're not figuring that out, we're probably not getting out of the series alive. I'm just telling you right now, we got to find a way to be net positive and at least some of the non-Anthony Davis minutes. So that needs to be understood. If we're net negative in all of the times he sits down, we're not winning the series. That's just what it is. We got to find a way to be successful without him on the floor at some point. So that's what I want to say. If we can get a lot out of people like Dennis Schroeder, D'Angelo Russell, and Rui Hachimura, that would be huge. We're going to need our scorers to score in this series since they're so efficient. LeBron James' 3-point shot is very important. He's been practicing the heck out of that thing. The more arc he puts on it to seem, the better it is to me. I don't know if I know what I'm talking about, but it seems like he's putting a little more air underneath that thing, and it seems to be falling a little bit better in that way. I don't want him attempting too many of those against this team for the same reason that I didn't want him to do that in the last series. Because transition buckets against certain teams mean a lot more when they're a lot more efficient. It can equal a loss if you do that too many times against them. Turnovers and missed 3-point shots turning into transition buckets. If you want to lose to the Nuggets, give us a healthy dose of both of those, Bron. Seriously. So we had a great series last in regards to him turning the ball over. I don't think he had a game where he turned the ball over more than 4 times. So that was probably the best stretch I had seen Bron have all season long with turnovers. And that's against a very good Golden State team. He's going to be going up against some more comparable size guys that know him a little better. KCP, Jeff Green, Aaron Gordon, guys who've seen Bron a lot in the past when he was in the Eastern Conference are on this team right now. So I'd expect that he's going to have a little more trouble keeping the ball in his hands, or that might have an inverted effect because he knows them, and it might help with some of these matchups. But that's going to be the thing. How are they going to stop LeBron James from getting in the paint? And are they underestimating LeBron James's playmaking ability while heralding Jokic's playmaking ability? Because yes, Jokic is one of the greatest playmakers of all time, but I think people forget that LeBron James is at the top of the assist category. He is the guy that you've been saying is the greatest passer, not named Magic Johnson, all the way up until this point. So the fact that they've kind of just let LeBron's playmaking just go by the wayside and just kind of penciled him in as somebody who can't put pressure on the rim anymore, I think he should take very, very personally. I think you should take that personally. And so I expect LeBron James to be making some ferocious passes in this series and to offset some of what Jokic is doing down there on the offensive end by being efficient himself. If Efficiency King shows up and is intent on getting Anthony Davis pick and roll looks, we're going to have a good time beating the hell out of the Denver Nuggets because they can't defend the pick and roll, and they certainly can't defend the LeBron James, Anthony Davis pick and roll. Let's make that very clear. Also, pick and roll with Austin Reeves, getting pick and rolls with all of the players that we have that are very efficient in that way, should be good for us because this team's not good at guarding that, from what I understand. So pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll. Give them all of that. Austin Reaves and run. I think there's going to be a big series for Austin Reaves, even though he's going to have Bruce Brown and KCP on him, trying to take the ball from him. I do think that he's going to have success against them in ways that maybe he couldn't have against GP, maybe he couldn't have against Clay or Wiggins. So I think this is a big series for Austin. The defenders are strong, but he should be used to real defense now. He should be used to that. I think the experience that he had in the last series was good. I think he's coming into this series more healthy than he went into the last series, since he was banged up coming into the last series. So we're going to need Austin Reaves to be on high alert and very, very good in order to win this series. I really believe that. If he ain't himself, we're in trouble. And D'Angelo Russell, if he's playing well, we're a monster. If he's playing poorly and we're overusing him, he could be the reason why we don't have enough. He could be the reason why our entire offense is lethargic. So it's a lot of things we got to manage in regards to D'Lo. You got to be very careful about the lethargy aspect of things. Very careful. Because going up against the Denver Nuggets, that ain't going to work. A couple missed threes, couple lackluster defensive plays, you're down by 10 against them. It's not a game. They score better than the Golden State Warriors. They just do. So we need to understand that they got an easier bucket getter in Jokic. He can get into the paint, lay the ball up easy. Especially if AD's in foul trouble or something like that. We cannot have bad efficiency from our guards because they're going to score too much to make that the case. We're going to have to get away from cold hands quickly. And we can't neglect defensive principles when it comes to these lineup rotations, man. We can't be looking for offense more so than look for defense against this team. You're never going to out-efficiency them. They're always going to score more if you don't defend. Now, they can't stop you. And you're more likely to get more stops against them than they are against you, because you're a hell of a defensive team. And they suck defensively, from what I understand. So it's like, as good as they are offensively, I still like us to get the stops we need, so long as we're continuing to take advantage of the holes that they have on the defensive end. So that's what I got to say about that. We take advantage of what they give us, defend hard, and we'll get the stops we need, I think. Don't get discouraged by Jokic's big line. He's going to beat Jokic. 30 points, 22 boards, 14 assists. Like, he's going to beat Jokic. Don't be discouraged by that. At the end of the day, he can only account for what he can account for. He's going to need everybody to play well in order for him to beat the Lakers. So if he's the only one doing everything, chances are we probably won. Especially if Anthony Davis is going to contribute to the scoring. Now, he may only attempt 9, 8, 11 shots. That's going to be a problem in this series because he is one of our better attacking options in this series. And most importantly, him being aggressive can equal Jokic getting in foul trouble, Gordon getting in foul trouble, which really helps us. Don't underestimate what getting Gordon in foul trouble can really do for us in regards to making them go to a guy like Jeff Green, who's going to play some good defense, but he's going to leave them with some significant disadvantages down there athletically that maybe Gordon doesn't leave them with. Obviously, Jeff Green's a fantastic corner shooter. Obviously, somebody who can jump out the gym. So we know he still has the leaping ability to jump and go crazy, but he's not going to be wiggly laterally. He's somebody that guys can run past. And so that's the reality of it. He's a fantastic defender. He's strong, but he provides some limitations that we would love to exploit in this series. So we want to get Gordon in foul trouble just as much as we want to get Jokic in foul trouble. As soon as we get them bigs out of there, as soon as we can start eating. Because that's really what it comes down to. This team cannot do anything without Nikola Jokic. I don't give a damn if Murray's down there and Porter's down there. If they don't have their center down there, they're in trouble. And so that's what it really comes down to. We got to get him off the floor every single game, if at all possible. And it shouldn't be possible because it's Jokic. But that should be our goal, is to try to get him in foul trouble and try to force him into being a defensive player. You make him work more on the defensive end, he has less to give them on the offensive end. So that's important. Obviously, with Porter's catch and shoot. He can also get off the floor. He's a very, very, very intelligent screen and roll guy. So we just got to be very careful with their spacing. In general, they have some of the best spacing on the planet. They know how to keep themselves in a position to keep their floor the way they want it to look to run their offense. So we're going to understand that they're a very disciplined offense. And if we don't play a disciplined brand of focused basketball, they'll win the series. So these are the things that I've come to understand after watching more and more highlights of them. I ain't saying that I have more respect for them per se, because I still watch them do all of this against basically Casper the Friendly Ghost on defense. But at the end of the day, our team can lose to anyone. I tell everybody this, and I mean this. The Los Angeles Lakers have never met a team that they cannot lose to, because we always find a way to play down to the level of our opponent. We have strategies that we tend to go to that only provide us losing results, and we go to those strategies rather consistently. So that's the truth about our team. We love to play with our food. There are going to be games where we're down in the series. It's probably going to be games that we're supposed to win and we're going to hate that we lost. But there's also going to be games where we are going to have our hands like this and our team is going to surprise us and blow the other team out or be crazy great, because that's what they've been doing all playoffs. And I don't expect anything is going to be different, because this team, again, does not play any defense. And the team that's going to beat the Los Angeles Lakers must play defense. That's the bottom line. I'm telling y'all right now, as somebody who's watched 81 games this season. Only game I didn't watch was the Portland game when they went crazy, blitzing us with 3-point shots. Regardless of what Laker team we're talking about, first half or second half, if you don't play defense and you don't play hard against them, you're going to lose. Because in the first half of the year, we had Russell Westbrook running around with Anthony Davis and Bron James. And Anthony Davis and Bron James here and there because they weren't always healthy. But we had enough hard-playing players to where we were able to pull ourselves out of a 2-12 hole or 2-10 hole. That was before we made the trades. It was before we had good players. We were doing that with Kendrick Nunn. We were doing that with Juan Toscano Anderson. You understand? So that's a tendency of the guys that were left over. They fight. They play hard. The core that we've had, sans the dudes that we traded for, they play hard for Darvin Ham. So with that being said, those are some of the same guys that helped us defeat Denver early in the season. That holds some weight. When you talk about Austin Reeves is on that team, Anthony Davis, LeBron James on that team, Wenyen Gabriel on that team, Max Christie on that team, that holds weight, because we know we had guys on this team that did do heavy lifting, that did pull us out of that hole, and that did defeat the Denver Nuggets in the 2 games that we did. So I want to see that carry over. We always play hard. I don't know that Denver always plays hard, but they obviously have the best record in the Western Conference for a reason. They always win this season. So we need to understand that however that goes, we need to bring our best to beat them at their best, and that's it. But if we play our best and they play their best, we should win, in my humble opinion. Many disagree. We'll see how it play out, though. So that's where my head goes in regards to that. DeAndre Jordan, you look at him in offensive rebounding capabilities, easy tip backs and buckets. He's in much better shape. He's turned himself into a vegan since he last was with us. So he's lighter on his feet. He gets off the ground, and they utilize him sparingly. So if we do see him, I expect for him to be a better DeAndre Jordan than we had, and so on and so forth. So we need to be cautiously optimistic that he won't be out there to harm us, but on alert just the same. So that's really what it is, man. Pay attention to the Browns. We're going to know more about those Browns than we ever wanted to know. Christian Braun and Bruce Brown. They spell them differently, but it's the same way to say the names. And these dudes play defense, man. They both can shoot the 3. They both can get off the ground. They're both strong. You know what I mean? They both put a little pressure on the rim, especially Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is a player where if he puts it all together, he really doesn't have many holes in his game at all. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a guy who does a lot of a lot. He drives at the rim really, really well. He shoots the 3 really, really well. He plays defense really, really well. So it's like, damn, it's not a whole lot that Bruce Brown can't do for you. You understand what I'm saying? So this is one of those guys that I definitely believe in. I've seen him play well in Brooklyn. That's how I got a whiff of him. And now that he's over here in Denver going up against us in the Western Conference Finals, if anybody I truly fear on the Denver Nuggets is him. He's a role player, not necessarily all the other guys, because I think that we have enough to stop them. But if he's at his best, he's an X factor that can overcome us, in my humble opinion. He has that type of ability to where he can go for 30 and be a problem if we neglect him in the wrong game. He can have a Lonnie Walker game. So he's one of those guys, man, you got to, you know what I mean? It's not always about the superstars and what they can do. It's about what makes the team have enough, if that's what I'm trying to say. Jokic ain't the guy that makes him have enough. He's a superstar that must be there to offset the superstars we have. Who are the guys that can really hurt us? And when I look at the Browns, those are the dudes. The Browns. Christian Brown and Bruce Brown. If we contain them dudes on both sides of the floor, we win the series. But if they run amok and assist KCP and Gordon with all that defense that they're going to be trying to do against us, it's going to be a problem. If we let them dudes have multiple steal games, it's going to be a problem. If we let those guys have multiple 3 games, it's a problem. Contain the Browns. That's what we need to do, Darvin Ham. And it ain't just about keeping them from scoring. It's about keeping them from doing all the stuff that they do that makes the Denver Nuggets a decent defensive team. Transition defensive plays, you get them in foul trouble. You hunt them. While everybody's thinking we're hunting Jokic, you hunt them dudes that are really the guys. Because you look at it like this. Yeah, you can have the bridge that holds up, but if you don't have what keeps the bridge together, if you don't have those things in place that hold it steady, it comes down. Browns are what keeps Jokic's bridge together. Jokic is what the guy that makes it all happen. Murray's the guy that makes it real pretty, hits all these killer shots, wins the game in the end. Porter's the guy that they can always hit with the open shot, with the extra pass. They can hit the 3-point shot repeatedly over and over again. Gordon's the guy that can get out in the fast break, catch lobs, push people around, wear you down, make you tired. But at the end of the day, if for some reason them 2 Browns ain't coming off that bench doing all that stuff that they have 0 bench. 0. That is their bench. The Browns are the bench. It's all colors, baby. Brown and green. Brown and green. That's it. That's the whole bench. Brown and green. You stop that, and they don't have no bench. It's just 5 players running around. Brown and green colors, y'all. We stop the colors, we stop the Nuggets. That's what I gotta say. So that's where I'm at with that, man. That's my head in regards to this game. These little defensive guards are gonna be the death of us if we allow them to. KCP, Brown, and Brown. Don't let them have their way. That's what I gotta say, man. I would rather Jokic go for 50, 10, and 10 than Brown and Brown go for 20 apiece and a bunch of steals. Don't let it happen, and you will win. So these are things I'm paying attention to. You can't do nothing about Murray's efficiency and Porter's efficiency. They're gonna and Jokic's efficiency. Those are guys that are gonna give them. Let's just pencil it in right now. Between those 3 players, you expect for them to have 95 points a game. 95 points between 3 players. So pencil them for 95 points right now. Jokic, Porter, and Murray. 95 points. Now I'm telling you, they're gonna have to score 120 to beat us. They're going to have to score 120 to beat us. If you can keep those other guys from doing whatever they're doing, I don't care what Jokic's doing. I don't care if they hit all of their shots. I don't care. You stop the rest of them dudes. You stop the Browns. You stop KCP. And 95 points is all they're going to end the game with. They walk away with 95 points, we're winning every game. Sweep. But that's only points I'm expecting from those 3 players. 95 points. And that's a lot. That's a whole lot of points. You're talking about 30 plus, way more than 30 plus from 3 players. That's them playing at their best. And it still ain't enough if we shut everybody else down. So that's what I'm saying. It's an optical illusion. Yes, Jokic is going to be able to score a lot. Yeah, he's going to do his thing. He's going to get the hook passes. All of that's going to be beautiful. But it's just one possession at a time, 24 seconds at a time. You control the pace. And you play defense enough to stop him enough times. Control what you're going to control on the offensive end by not turning the ball over, doing dumb stuff that turns the ball over. Respect rebounding. Respect rim protection at all times. Because anytime you don't, you're just paying into the Denver Nuggets' hands. Joker's going to put on every board you don't. So if you don't keep enough size on the floor, enough Rui on the floor to weak side help in these little lineups that we're definitely going to use, those will be the moments where the lead will go toward Denver. And the thing about it is, and I'm saying this and I want it to be understood, when we go to bad lineups against the Denver Nuggets, since they can score so fast in such clusters, 3 minutes of a bad lineup can really turn into a 20-point deficit. You will kill the game if you go to the wrong lineup in this series. Okay? So, some of the stuff that we did in Game 2 and Game 5, you definitely going to lose those same games in the series. You can't, because those holes are going to be too deep to dig yourself out of against that offense. When you leave them holes against that offense, it's boom, 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 good night. And they're going to close you out. So this is why Darvin, if Darvin was ever going to prove himself to not be the guy that we can't stand, he going to do it in this series. He going to do it in this series because a lot of the stuff that got us beat throughout the course of the regular season, some of the stuff he's prone to do, if he does it against the Nuggets, especially in altitude, it's going to be bad for us. And we're going to be mad at him. So I would suggest not digging any holes, no purposeful holes against an offense like this. They don't have any bricklayers. Those shots are going to fall. The shots are going to fall. So that's what I need y'all to understand as we watch this series. I do not expect Denver to miss very much, especially when AD is not on the floor. They ain't going to miss very much. Jokic is going to do a lot of awesome stuff. Laying the ball up, passing the rock around, making bounce passes. Lob pass. Look for the lob. Look for the lob. He's always looking to give a lob to a teammate. So these are the type of things like that. Play the pass at all times with Jokic. If he happens to be a scorer, I think it plays in our favor. If we force him into too many three-point shots, that definitely plays into our favor. We want the Denver Nuggets shooting a lot of threes because they don't put a lot of pressure on the rim to begin with as a team. They don't. Without Bruce Brown driving at the rim a lot of the time, they're probably not going to get a lot of effective scoring in that way. So look for him to drive the ball a lot, try to get us in foul trouble. Look for them to hunt us out with him. So, yeah, no stupid fouls, Anthony Davis. And that stands for everybody on the team, but especially him because he's so important in this series going up against Jokic. Whoever doesn't pick up the silly fouls will probably be in a better position to win that particular game. If Jokic picks up silly fouls, he's in trouble. His team can't function without him. If Anthony picks up silly fouls, we're in trouble. We can't function without his defense. You see what I'm saying? So it's one of those situations where whoever big man falters, the series is going to automatically go the other team's way. If for some reason we have injury issues, something like that, we out of here. So we need Anthony out there, and they need Jokic out there. Period. End of story. So whatever best way to strategize a healthy Anthony Davis to 7 games in altitude is the way we need to strategize. If it means foregoing certain defensive opportunities against Jokic, so be it. We need the rest more so than we need to wear Anthony Davis out trying to chase this man around every play he's on the floor. Put Vando on Jokic once in a while, especially at the top of the perimeter. If he's going to be out there at the top of the perimeter, keep AD in the paint. Let Vando guard him at the perimeter. That's how you fix that. You ain't pulling AD out of the paint. You let Jokic deal with Vando out on the perimeter. If he can shoot over Vando, great. We want him shooting threes too much anyway. Maybe that will entice him to shoot too much. But what we don't want to do is have AD chasing him all the way out to the three-point line like we allowed the Golden State Warriors to do, and then proceed to have them picking us apart, passing the rock into the paint, picking up fouls against guys who are undoubtedly going to foul in that situation. So we need to be careful not to allow them to do that. That's one of the only things they really can do to us very effectively if we allow them to. So this is why we're going to have to forgo some things on the offensive end to incorporate Vando into the situation. And please, don't run corner threes for him just because he's open. He's open for a reason. Look for something else. I get so sick of us when we keep Vando on the floor and then we leave him over there and say, okay, finish the play. Why? Even if you have to drive into defense, it's probably a higher percentage play than to give him that corner three-point shot that he never hits. It's open for a reason. And we can't afford to be empty on our offensive possessions. So don't take bad shots. Don't take anything that seems a little awry. Because if you miss it, just give them the points. Just give the points to Denver. So that's what I got to say. All of our transition mistakes will bite us in this series. Everything we've ever done about transition that we shouldn't have done is something that we have better learned our lesson about right here and now. All of our transition mistakes on both sides. That's your Achilles heel, Lakers. Get out in transition, score on them repeatedly, drive with everybody who's capable of doing so, and we're going to win this series very easily because they can't stop a layup to save their lives. They cannot stop a layup to save their lives. So as good as they are offensively, it's as trash as they are defensively, and nobody wants to say that. Booker killed them. KD didn't shoot well, but Booker killed them. And so did Campaign in Game 7 of 6. So I know the Denver Nuggets are a team you can score 130 points on. I know that because they're not going to stop you in none of them possessions. They're just not. They got defensive players, but at the end of the day, it's either Jokic stopping you at the rim or you laying the ball up, and he's not blocking no shots like that. And neither is Gordon. So this is where Anthony eats. Anthony eats. If Anthony can find 35-point Anthony, we're not going to lose any of those games. But we can never count on Anthony Davis in these playoffs to give us more than 10 points. It's God's honest truth. If you pencil him in for anything more than 10, you're going to be disappointed in some of them games. Because he's just not going to do it. He's not going to score like that. And that, I'm telling you, we can diversify and have 10 players in double figures, and that would be a wonderful thing. But if Anthony Davis is going for 35, chances are Nikola Jokic's fouled him about 6 times. That's reality. So we need to consider that. So that's really where my head is, man. Like I said, I want to encourage everybody to go check out the other videos that I made, because I'm sure I made up even much greater points leading up to this yesterday. I'm certain I did. But nevertheless, I wanted to give y'all a pregame video for today, and I'll keep on talking about this team throughout the Western Conference Finals. Of course, I'll have something for you at the end of the game, and of course at halftime as well. We're just very pleased to be here, man. I'm more nervous about this series than I was last two, and the reason why is because I really don't see no way for us to lose it, and that bothers me, especially when we get this far into the playoffs. You don't never want to think that you're this much better than a team, especially when the pundits are telling you that you're not, because it's like I'm the only person that convinced myself of this, basically. But when I look at what I see, I can't shake what I see. I just see a Denver Nugget team that's going to have a significant amount of trouble against Anthony Davis, running the sweetness of their offense that they've had a lot of success with against 2 bad defensive teams. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns were awful defensive teams. Without McDaniels, the Memphis Grizzlies had no defense out there at all. Minnesota Timberwolves, McDaniels broke his hand. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Without that piece down there, without Naz Reid out there, the Minnesota Timberwolves don't have a defense that they can really rely upon like that. So a lot of what they were doing was just Denver was just running their offense freely. A lot of those shots, they don't contest shots as hard as we did. Neither one of those teams, Phoenix or Minnesota, contest shots as hard as we do. Some of the plays, I'm just looking out there, I'm like, man, watching my team night to night, I know what we're going to do in these situations. I know how fast we're going to close out. I know how fast we're going to collapse. I know how, you know what I mean? Like, I know the rhythm of my squad versus the resistance that the Denver Nuggets received, and they didn't receive any in comparison. And that's what I'm here to tell everybody. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching.